Hey, Matt from Matt Lane Fitness. Welcome to the Ask a Male Fit Show. If you're new here, it means so friggin' much that you'd give me just a wee bit of your time. I hope that you'll drop your questions down below, because that's exactly what this is. You ask your fitness questions, and I answer them. I can't wait to dive into today's questions. Christian Damien, who is not a stranger around these parts. Let's hop into his question, because he's first. Christian, appreciate you, good sir. Christian asks, what's the optimal amount of incline for incline benching? I personally have been using about 45 degrees for the angle. Just wanted to know what you think, what you do. Good question, good sir. If you've ever been to a commercial gym, you're most likely going to have little presets that you can set the bench to. The fancier the bench is, the more degrees you're going to get. But if we know that this is 90 degrees, right, we would say that this is 45 degrees, right? 30 to 45 degrees seems to be the optimal place for upper pec development for hypertrophy. Because we're not all built exactly the same.
I'm built different.
We built different. We have different insertion points and different bone lengths. I think it's important to screw around with 30 to 45 degrees to see what you feel better with. So if you're noticing that you're at 45 degrees and you're feeling some shoulder pain, drop it down to 30 and see how it feels. Again, it does kind of matter what bench that you have, but 30 to 45 degrees. I pick 45. It seems to work really well. If I go any higher, it starts targeting the anterior delt. Christian, great question. Moving on. One ring. If I want to lift weights to increase muscle mass in my arms, what would be the best way to divide up the muscle groups? Should I do triceps one day, biceps the next day, then shoulders, etc.? Or should I work out two muscle groups together like triceps and shoulders on the same day? So what we need to establish here first is training volume. If you want to build muscle is attained by progressive overload. Okay, and I'm going to dive a little bit deeper into this, but let's establish what progressive overload is. Let's say that you do 500 pounds in total volume. Okay, well, what the heck does that mean? Let's say you're doing bench press. 100 pounds is on the bar. You do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 reps. You just did a total of 500 pounds of total volume. Okay, then if you did that another set, that'd be 1,000, right? So if you continuously increase that volume at 1 week, every 2 weeks, if you continually just progress that by adding a set, by adding a rep, by increasing the weight, any of those variables, then that is progressive overload and you're building muscle. Now, I want to dive a little bit deeper into that and say, going to failure is something you're going to hear very, very often. Should you go to failure? I think that you should go to 1 to 3 reps of failure. I don't think complete failure is absolutely necessary. It increases the risk of injury. In the literature, it doesn't seem like it makes a lot of sense to do, okay? So these have to be difficult sets. I don't typically say that because people really don't know how to gauge what true failure is. So I usually just say progressive overload, because that alone is a bit of a tricky topic if you don't know it. So we have to understand that. That's how you build the muscle, okay? Also, how often should I work out my arms per week, and how many rest days should I have? So let's say that you start with progressive overload and you know that you're gonna do 10,000 pounds of weight in a week, okay? Spread that 10,000 pounds of volume over one workout would be very tough. If you could do that over 2 workouts, that would be much easier. If you could do it over 3 workouts, it'd be even easier. But if working out, say 3 days a week is tougher for you and you can only do 2, then you're gonna have to do it in 2 days a week. So there is a balancing act here. And what matters is, what can you stick to and how many days a week do you need to spread that volume out? That way it's not too fatiguing. You know, if you try to do 10,000 pounds in one day, that would be way too fatiguing, and I would not suggest that. Personally, what I do, I try to spread it out over the week, and I do 3 to 4 training sessions a week. If I were in your shoes, I would group these muscle groups together. I would do biceps, triceps, and shoulders on the same day, and then you could come back another day and then do the same thing and have a decreased risk of injury, and then you're also going to be able to get more volume in, if that makes sense. There's a boatload of conversation and there's a lot of conflicting evidence saying how many sets you should do, but it does seem that the range of 10 to 20 sets in a week is the most optimal for building muscle. So if you shoot for that 10 to 20 sets throughout the week, that should be how you set your training up. I know that's a lot. At the end of the day, pick a weight, pick a set number, and pick a number of reps you're going to do. Typically 8 to 12 is a good one, okay? Start doing 8 reps, start doing 3 sets at whatever weight, and then start increasing that volume from either every week or every 2 weeks, all right? And as far as rest goes, it depends on the person, but the golden rule is 48 hours in between sessions is optimal. If you're feeling like garbage, it takes some people longer to recover. It may take you 72 hours. It just depends on you. Last question. Jackson Archer. Awesome video as always, Matt. Thank you, good sir. Almost 4 years ago, I was diagnosed with extremely low testosterone due to an issue with my pituitary. Over the past 3 years, I had been on and off of this stuff prescribed by my physician called HCG. And for the last half of 2022, I've switched to standard testosterone replacement therapy. Good for you. And good for you. I'm sorry, what I meant to say was, I want good for you. And thanks to today's video sponsor, Let's Get Checked, we're going to do exactly that. If you feel like the stamina is running a little low, the strength isn't improving, the sleep is crap, the mood's not as stable, it might be time for Let's Get Checked. What they do is they send you a kit in the mail. You're going to prick your finger, draw a little bit of blood, it goes off to UPS, and in a handful of days only, you're going to have your lab results back on your phone. It's pretty incredible. It's an in-home lab service. You don't need any doctor's orders or anything like that. If you use the link in the description below, you're going to get a kickback, and yes, they're supporting this channel as well. Let's Get Checked. Thank you so much for sponsoring. I believe in you. Thanks for believing in me. Point of this intro is that before I knew I had hormonal problems, I went through high school and for the first 3 years of college committing to fitness and exercise and the diet, but seeing little to no progress. That had to be really, really disheartening, seriously. Muscle growth was the goal. I would quit and end up getting back into it a couple months later, going through this vicious cycle. I'm now 24 and out of college and have a real job. For the past 5 months, I've been able to consistently go to the gym on a weekly schedule. Good for you. While I'm not training for the Arnold, as my doctor says, I am seeing more results than ever, I would imagine. I currently have a goal of getting in the best shape of my life by the end of July 2023. Good for you, and you can do it. That's awesome. I'm glad that I have any sort of benefit to you. That's so friggin' cool. I'm so happy for you. That has to be so kick-ass to finally have like the answer of like, what the fuck? I was doing so much. So good for you. I'll be at the beaches in LA. My goal is obtaining as much muscle growth as I can. But as my vacation gets closer, I would like to be leaning down as much as possible. Lean down as in lose a bit of that stubborn fat and see a little of the core muscles I'm trying to build. I hear some fitness gurus talk about how you can totally get lean and build muscle at the same time. But then I think about the whole calories in versus calories out as the standard of losing and gaining any kind of weight. That's true. When I remember that standard, it seems like there is no way to actually lose body fat, quote unquote, lean down if you're also trying to build muscle. Are you supposed to just focus on diet and cardio along with the weights and leave as little calories as possible to convert to fat while still being in calorie deficit to build muscle? This is what I'm trying to do right now. Focusing on lower fat foods, more fruits and vegetables, and in general, less caloric, but high volume foods. Or is it best to go the bulk and cut route, which I'm not really, you don't really prefer to do it that way. I know this isn't really a one-size-fits-all topic, as different strategies will work different or worse for different people. I just wanted to get your opinions. Thanks. So that is a big question, Jackson, but here's the deal. Yes, it is possible to gain muscle and lose fat at the same time if you are in one of these 3 demographics. You are new to lifting, or you have taken a hiatus from lifting and you're coming back. If you are obese, or if you are on PEDs, if you're on drugs, okay? If you're on the gear. Beginners will have the best progress they ever will in the first year of their lifting if they're consistent. Now, for you, you're seeing that progress now because you didn't have the hormones to support it. If you are obese, you have this adipose tissue, you have all this excess tissue that you can use for energy. And since you don't have that much muscle, you're building muscle underneath that fat that is burning off. So you can do both at the same time. Again, when you're a beginner, you can do both at the same time because you have a low amount of muscle. You really don't have that much fat if you're not obese. And for anybody that's on hormones, I think that's quite obvious. You burn fat while building muscle. Now, if you are a well-trained individual and you're deeper into your fitness journey, it's tougher. It is tougher. The longer and more consistent you are, the tougher it is, which really and truly, I think it's metaphorical. It never gets easier. You just get stronger. You just get better. All that to say, you said that you want to build as much muscle as possible and then lean down by July of 2023. Because you're quote unquote new, I think it would make sense to do a little bit of a bulk. The reason I say that is when we are in a calorie deficit, we are in a catabolic state. meaning we break down. The whole point of being in a calorie deficit is to break down fat. Lipolysis, that's exactly what it is. Then if you want to be in the most anabolic possible state, that would be in a calorie surplus with ample protein. And this study that came out from the Wiley Online Library, it talked about energy deficiency impairs resistance training gains in lean mass, but not in strength. It was a meta-analysis that was done, and it showed that an energy deficit absolutely impairs lean muscle gains as a result of resistance training, okay? Put yourself in a surplus for, say, 2 to 3 months. It doesn't have to be a crazy surplus. 200 to 300 calories, that's enough. You don't have to do these crazy swings, and that's how people gain and lose fat way drastically. You don't have to do that. And then you start that leaning down process after that 2 to 3 month period. That's gonna give you the most anabolic state. If you're looking for fitness plans based in behavior change and science, talking about some of the things we just talked about, it's exactly what I do. So check it out down below. Jackson, I appreciate the question. And all of you, I thank you for your questions. I hope you'll drop them down below. Jackson, seriously, congrats on finding what was going on, because that had to be really frustrating. I'm happy for you. I'm excited for you. Let me know how it goes. I really do want to know. Please come back and comment. Let me know how it went. I appreciate you. To the Mental Fit Mafia, to the patrons, you're down here. I see you, and I appreciate you as always supporting. You don't have to be perfect at this fitness thing. Just be better than yesterday. Every day.